Good evening, audience. Welcome to the Scare Void. Here, forgotten stories find echoes, whispered packs resurface ... And the silence, at last, speaks. I am Mr. Void. Your voice in the dark ... But before we delve into the shadows of the night, tell me, do you have the courage to stay until the end? Most who listen ... do not return, perhaps through carelessness, or perhaps because they could never sleep the same way again. If you think you can handle it ... click subscribe now. I never really believed in supernatural things until I started working the night shift. My name is Fernando. I'm 23 years old. I work at a McDonald's in a small town in Florida. I work the night shift because it helps me with college. It's quieter, at least. It used to be. It all started about a year ago. It was 1 a.m, and I was at the drive-through window, as always. Few cars, mild weather, the radio playing old hits low. That's when she first appeared. An old car, falling apart. The paint peeling. One of the headlights broken. And behind the wheel ... an old lady, yellowish skin, bleached hair, a look that seemed to pierce through glass. But what caught my attention was the way she spoke. You have a beautiful voice, my son. There's something in your eyes, like you carry light. I was polite, smiled, handed her the order and wished her a good night. She left, but she came back the next night, and the next, and again, and again. Every time at the same time. She started asking that only I serve her. If a colleague opened the window, she'd ask, "Where is the boy with the sweet voice?" At first, the others found it funny. Fernando's got himself a sugar mommy, they said. But what was a joke became annoying. She started making increasingly strange comments. You have such a clean spirit ... I could take care of you, protect you. If you want, I can take you home forever. I refused politely, but she didn't understand rejection. The first time she waited for me outside the restaurant, I thought it was a coincidence. The second time, it no longer seemed casual. The third time, I was sure she was following me. One night, I left at 3 a.m. The parking lot was empty, except for a car parked in the corner. It was hers. She was outside, smoking. When she saw me, she smiled. Not a friendly smile, but a hungry smile. You shouldn't walk alone so late. Let me take you, I refused. I said my colleague was going to give me a ride. She stood there, watching me get into the car. She didn't say anything, but her eyes didn't blink. From then on, she started showing up almost every night, at the drive-through, in the parking lot, sometimes ... across the street. She never did anything directly, just ... watched, until the night I got home, and, as I opened the gate, felt someone pull my backpack. It was her. Her look wasn't human. It was as if there was no soul, just a dark hole. She tried to hug me. You need to understand. I chose you. I started screaming, forced my body back, and managed to run. I went into the house and locked the door, sweating cold. I called the police. Minutes later, while she was screaming outside, the officers arrived, but she was already gone. She left no trace, not even footprints, nothing. I got a restraining order, and for months I was at peace. I thought it was over, but of course. Stories like this never end on the quietest part. After the police told me that that woman had died, my head couldn't accept it. I saw her there, standing next to my car. I saw it clearly. The silhouette, the hair, The way she leaned on the hood. She was there. I know she was. And that's when things really started to fall apart. The following weeks were full of weird things. It started subtly. First, with the feeling of being watched. Even at home, with the door locked and the windows closed, I felt like there was someone in the room. Sometimes, I even heard a sound. Like the sound of fingernails tapping on my window glass. 3 taps, always 3, in the same rhythm. Always at 2:47 in the morning. I thought I was getting paranoid. Until one night, after my shift, I decided to pull up the security camera footage from the drive-through window. I just wanted to calm down, you know. BUT, that's when I saw it. At exactly 2:47, there's a moment where the camera gets a little blurry, like a glitch, interference. And for a split second, you can see her. You can't see her face, but there's a shape standing right there in the reflection of the window. Outside, motionless, slumped shoulders, tilted head, looking at me. The camera didn't record sound, but I swear to everything that I felt a noise inside my head when I saw the image, as if she knew I was watching. There was a night that was worse. I was leaving work, already close to 3 in the morning, and I smelled that same smell. Old cigarette. The kind of cigarette that's wet, almost rotten. I thought it was someone on the street. But then, when I got into my car, there was a note on the passenger seat. It only had a red lipstick mark on it. Nothing written, but it was exactly the same lipstick she used to wear. How did that get there? The car was locked. No one had access. At least, no one alive. After that, I started dreaming about her. It was always the same nightmare. I was alone in the restaurant, the kitchen light flickering, and she appeared on the other side of the glass. Her face wasn't the same anymore. It was burned, melted, but the eyes were still there, fixed, shining with hatred. And she always said the same thing, in a hoarse voice, as if spitting out smoke. Why did you let me burn? I quit my job. I thought that by leaving there, everything would stop. But it didn't stop. There was one night at home that was the last straw. I woke up with a dry throat and went to the kitchen to get water. On the way, I heard a noise in the bathroom. I thought it was just the plumbing. But when I looked in the mirror, there was something written on the fogged-up shower glass, even though no one had taken a shower. I told you we'd see each other again. Man, I froze. I couldn't move for a few seconds when I mustered the courage to wipe the mirror. There was a handprint, but it wasn't mine. It was smaller, with thin and burned fingers. Since then, I haven't been sleeping well. I always wake up at 2:47, and every time, it's like I feel her at the door of the room, looking at me through the gap. I even tried to lock it, but the latch keeps opening on its own. She hasn't gone away, not with a restraining order, not with death, not with anything. I don't know what she wants from me. Company, revenge. I only know that there are nights when I wake up and the bathroom mirror is fogged up, even without anyone using it. And there she is, the mark, the lipstick, and the same phrase. We're still going to go out together. Mr. Voigt, I don't know what to do anymore. You asked if someone can leave so much hatred behind that even death can't erase it. I have no doubt anymore. Yes, and she's here with me, still. My name is Lucas Danner. I've been a trucker for over 10 years. Since I was 19, I've been driving all over the southern United States. My dad was one too. It's in the blood, you know. I've been robbed on the road 3 times. The 3rd time almost killed me. They took my truck, my things, and almost took my life. That's where everything changed. I was 27 years old. My wife was pregnant with our first child, and I was tired of living in fear, afraid of dying on the asphalt and leaving my family with nothing. That's when I made the worst choice of my life. In my town, in Alabama, there's a guy known for solving problems, a man of rituals, candles, that kind of stuff you only hear whispered about. I looked him up. I didn't tell my wife anything. She had a big belly, happy, and I didn't want to worry her. He received me in a wooden house in the middle of the woods. Smell of herbs and something sour in the air. I told him about the fear, the robberies, the violence. He just looked at me and said, "You want protection, Lucas. It exists, but everything has a price." I asked how much it was. He smiled crookedly and replied, "I'm not talking about money." That same night, we did a ritual in a clearing behind the house. Just the stars above and a circle of candles below. He didn't explain much. He just told me to repeat his words. Then he gave me a bottle with a dark, thick liquid and told me to drip a few drops into the truck's engine. "This is your seal of protection. As long as you respect it, nothing will touch you." At the time, it seemed crazy, but believe me, it worked. In the following months, it was like magic. I started driving peacefully again. Not even a scratch. Not even a scare. There was one time I stopped at a rest stop and found out that, half an hour after I left, the place was robbed. No one saw me. No one followed me. It was as if something was hiding me. I started to believe that I was safe again. I could finally take care of my wife, the child on the way. But protection bought with shadows charges its price. Until one night, coming back from a freight run on the border, an armed group cut me off in the middle of the road. They dragged me out of the truck, threw me in the back, tied me up, and it was there, in total darkness, alone and certain that I was going to die, that the pact revealed itself. But what happened next wasn't deliverance, it was a warning, and it cost dearly. I was in the back of my own truck, hands and feet tied with thick tape, the road completely dark, no sound, no soul. The guys who had taken me were gone, but I could still hear the engine. The truck was moving, alone. That's when I felt it. Something changed. The air became dense, heavy, and then, boom. A roar, an impact so strong that the front of the truck simply disappeared. Everything shook. I was thrown from one side to the other in the back. The truck rolled over on its side and stopped. Silence. For a few seconds, I only heard my own heart beating. When I caught my breath, the tapes had come loose. I didn't know how, but I was free. I opened the back door and crawled out, in front of the truck, in a gully. The bodies of the men who had kidnapped me were crushed, torn to pieces. There was no way anyone could have survived. I, on the other hand, didn't have a scratch. The back of the truck had gotten stuck between two twisted trees. That's what saved me. Or it was the pact. I went home in shock. I woke up sweating, trembling, not knowing if it had been real, but time passed. The baby was born. I mean, he should have been born. The doctors said everything was fine, perfect ultrasound, healthy heart. But at the time of delivery, he didn't cry, he didn't breathe, he didn't move. My son was stillborn, and no one could explain why. Man, do you know what it's like to see your son's body wrapped in a white cloth, without ever having heard him utter a single cry? I did that. I delivered, offered my life, and received in return the death of the one I loved most. The so-called sorcerer never appeared again. His house disappeared from the GPS, as if it had never existed. And since that day, I carried two things: protection and a curse, because the road has never been the same. I survive, yes, but at every turn, I hear a voice on the radio, a voice that says, "You should have offered yourself." Nowadays, I still drive, but always alone, without music, without conversation, because sometimes, even with the radio off, I hear a muffled laugh deep inside the cabin. And every time I pass the stretch where the truck rolled over, the lights flicker, the air freezes, and a rotten smell invades the truck, as if it still wanted more. Do you think you would give everything for protection? What if, in return, they took everything that really matters? There are pacts that seem like blessings, but they are just traps, and whoever signs rarely reads the fine print. If you've made it this far, comment "Not every miracle is divine" below. My name is Miguel. I'm retired now, but for over 30 years, I traveled the country in a truck, carrying fruits and goods to regions in the south, always crossing long stretches and empty roads. And it was on one of those trips that I discovered that not every hitchhiker is a living person. This story happened in 1986. I was in my early 20s, with a lot of road ahead of me, and almost no fear. That day, the sky was clear. Radio on, load steady. I was heading towards Texas, along US 59, when I saw three young people standing on the shoulder. Two guys and a girl. They seemed tired, covered in dust, with torn clothes and an old backpack on the ground. Nothing too unusual. Back then, it was common to find hitchhikers trying to get to bigger cities. I stopped the truck. I stuck my head out and asked where they were going. One of them replied, "Corpus Christi." "That's where I'm going," I replied. "Get in." They got in silently. One of the guys stayed in the passenger seat. The other two sat in the back, and that's when the strangeness began. They didn't say anything else. I tried to make conversation. I asked where they came from, if they were traveling, but no one answered. The girl only looked out the window, and the two guys kept staring at the road as if they were waiting for something to appear ahead. I thought it was shyness, or fear, I don't know. But then I started to smell it. It wasn't sweat. It was damp earth, like when you dig a deep hole and put your nose to the bottom. That smell of a newly opened grave. The backpack they were carrying clanged with a metallic weight every time the truck shook. It seemed to have tools inside, or something worse. I thought about asking them to get out, but I kept going. I was already close to the city, and I thought it was just paranoia. About 2 hours later, they asked to get off at a gas station. Stop. They didn't even say thank you. They simply left. They walked behind the convenience store and disappeared around there. The next day, I went back on the road, and that's when hell began. On the same highway, a few miles ahead, I saw a figure standing by the side of the road. It was a young man, alone, standing, with his arms hanging down and his head bowed. I slowed down. I looked closely, and I swear, it was one of the guys I had left at the stop the day before. Same shirt, same haircut, same empty look, but he didn't ask for a ride. He just stared at me as I passed, as if he already knew who I was. I thought it could be a coincidence, until, a few hours later, he appeared again, standing in the same way, but now in the opposite direction to which I was heading. I didn't stop anymore, but that night I had to sleep in the cab, and in the middle of the night, when I woke up thirsty, I looked in the rearview mirror, He was there, standing, on the side of the road, watching me in the dark. I don't know how, but he was following me, or maybe he had never left the truck. Who were those three young people? What was in that backpack? And why does one of them still haunt the roads of the South? After the third time I saw that guy standing on the road, I could no longer deny it. There was something wrong. It wasn't coincidence, nor imagination. It was him, that same expression, the sunken eyes, the slightly grey skin. It was like seeing someone who came straight from a burial. The following night, I stopped at a roadside diner. I tried to forget what I saw. I ate something, chatted with other drivers, and went to sleep in the truck. But I couldn't. I stayed there, in the darkness of the cab, staring at the rearview mirror, waiting to see that face again. And I saw it, again, standing, leaning against a lamppost, arms crossed, as if he were waiting for my next stop. At that time, I did something I had never done before. I prayed, and then, a week later, came what brought me down for good. I was at home, visiting my mother. It was a Saturday morning, and she was watching the news in the living room while I had coffee. Suddenly, she calls me, "Miguel, come see this." On TV, they showed three young people being taken away in handcuffs. Two guys, a girl. I stopped. I felt the coffee get cold in my hand. And then she said, "They're saying that they turned themselves in last night. Confessed that they buried a friend alive as part of a strange ritual, a pact, something satanic." My mouth dried up. I felt an ice run down my spine. And that's when they showed the photo of the guy who was buried. The image, emblazoned on the screen, was the same face that had been staring at me on the road. The same expression, the same hair, the same empty look. I carried the murderers of that boy. I took them, maybe minutes after the crime. And that boy, he tried to talk to me. He tried to follow me. He tried to show me something. And me, I just kept traveling. Some rides aren't just strange. They're echoes, ghosts that haven't yet been heard, or buried in the right way. Miguel survived what he saw. You've made it to the end. Congratulations. Not everyone does. If these stories gave you chills, made you glance at the dark corners of the room, share it with someone who needs to know the price of certain desires. Subscribe. The next account might be about someone like you. This is Mr. Void, and until our next journey through the shadows of the scare void.